How do you feel about the fact that a good portion of your food is now going to be produced by Big Pharma? That's right, they're going to feed you frankenfoods and then be able to cure your diseases from them afterward. It's actually a great arrangement and a vicious cycle. Ashley Beckford joins me now. What do you think about this outrageous announcement? In my opinion, it's pretty outrageous. Bayer clinches the deal with Monsanto for $66 billion.
Well, I believe it's really atrocious, Leanne. The really sick part about this is that this is actually a part of their global eugenics scheme. We know that Bayer are actually Nazi collaborators, and they haven't stopped since the Nazi times in going for their eugenics plan. And I believe this is just another step in their control to, controlling the whole global food supply.
Yeah, absolutely. Because really the deal doesn't even make sense. A lot of the shareholders are concerned that they've paid way too much money and that they're going to jeopardize their pharmaceutical company. And they say they're paying 16 times Monsanto's forecast core earnings for 2017.
Wow.
So for me, it's kind of like, what do they have up their sleeve? What do they know is coming down the pipeline? Now, obviously, we know that there have been suggestions that they might be putting vaccines in genetically modified bananas and fruits and things like that to be able to give vaccines through the food supply in the future. So obviously we know that's coming.
Right.
We see, modified mosquitoes, and then, of course, having to counteract the Zika virus, which is patented by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. I mean, it's just so insane how far this goes back. It's so deep that most people new to this probably think we would sound kind of crazy. And you can even go back several decades ago. Bayer was actually knowingly selling drugs tainted with the AIDS virus.
That's right.
They couldn't, once they found out their AIDS virus is here in their product in the U.S., they can't sell it, but they don't want to throw it away and lose all that money. So they sell it to Africa, France, other countries. And of course, it did make the mainstream media coverage. This really, truly happened. Let's go ahead and take a look.
The FDA helped to cover for pharmaceutical companies that knowingly sold millions of dollars worth of contaminated medicine to other countries in the mid-'80s, although they knew that it was tainted with AIDS.
Internal documents show that after this company positively, absolutely knew that they had a medication that was infected with the AIDS virus, they took the product off the market in the U.S. and then they dumped it in France, Europe, Asia, and Latin America. The medicine's called Factor VIII. It was an injection medicine that was used for hemophiliacs, mostly children. Children had been born with an incurable disease.
Hold on, Mike. So, hold on. So you're telling me that Bayer knew that this drug was infected with the AIDS virus. They yanked it from the market in America, and then they dumped it in markets overseas?
They had to figure out a way, Joe, to make a profit on a product that they could not sell in America.
So this is Bayer, who we are now going to be trusting with a very large portion of the world's food supply.
Right, Leanne. It's really, really disturbing, and it's really, really scary because this is all about blood money when it comes to Bayer. Back in the day, about 3 decades ago, back in the 70s and 80s, they had this Factor VIII. They knew that all they had to do was actually heat treat the product, and they wouldn't have so many AIDS transmissions through hemophiliacs using that product. I have an article here from PubMed that kind of summarizes it. And then also, Mercola recently did a story about 10 years ago, just going back into how they actually went through creating a better product in the U.S. Back in February 1984. And even though the dangers of the drug were well known domestically, the news was actually slower to reach other parts of the world. So what they did was they continued to sell it, as you said. At least in Hong Kong and Taiwan alone, more than 100 people were infected with HIV and AIDS, and they later ended up dying. The worldwide numbers are really difficult to calculate, but I remember back when I was in high school or middle school, Ryan White, he was one of the famous people who actually died. He was a teenager. We had to watch the Ryan White story in our health course just to learn about how he actually, ended up getting HIV from this Factor VIII. And it's really sick that they've never apologized. They've had to pay only $600 million for all the people, the countless lives that they've destroyed, not just the people they killed, but the families that were ripped apart and destroyed from this. And it's really, really shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Rappaport does some amazing reporting on this type of stuff, but he's basically saying, you know, the empire strikes back. Of course, George Soros, Warren Buffett are set to make a fortune off of this merger.
Wow.
But this is just, I mean, a giant step in the direction of controlling the world's food supply. I mean, they're going to be controlling these seeds, but this is also GMOs, crop seeds, pesticides, medical drugs.
Wow.
And this is huge. And these are obviously consultants there with the Rothschild group. You know, it's just a huge monopoly. And I don't think people really understand that this is super serious. They don't care about making sure you're getting healthy, delicious, and nutritious food. Clearly, they would willingly sell people drugs infected with the HIV AIDS virus. And most of the time, that drug was going to children.
Right.
Children were using this.
Exactly.
And they knew it.
Yeah, that's what happened to Ryan White. I believe he was, you know, a middle schooler at that time when he got the HIV infection. And it just goes to show you, how can we trust the food supply with Nazi collaborators? This is all part of their global eugenics plan. It's never stopped. It's never going to stop. They've always had the same plan for a very, very long time, for decades, and maybe even centuries, who knows, with these people. And then when you add in Monsanto and their plan to basically destroy people's just general independence, food independence, and just the organic, natural, it almost makes you think that they might be demons or something.
No, I know.
mean, what is this?
It's really sick. It's very bizarre. You just think, how in the heck could something like this actually happen? And what people really need to be concerned about is this Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Right.
Because there is global rebellion. So many countries have actually banned GMOs. They've banned Monsanto products from coming into their countries, trying to do things a healthy way, because they can see the writing on the wall.
Right.
That this is not good. But with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, if the TPP passes, they are going to have these corporate tribunals that'll basically be set up. They're going to take over the adjudication of disputes. So if a nation rejects Monsanto or rejects these GMO seeds, GMO crops, these independent tribunals will actually decide whether that nation is permitted to refuse these seeds, these products coming into their country, these food supplies hitting the shelves in their countries. Even though they don't want it, these corporations are going to be able to override that country's sovereignty and their own freedom,
that's
their
what I was
decisions for their health.
Yeah, that's insane that they actually have a plan to be able to override national sovereignty. That seems like it's a big part of it as well. Right.
So you do think these tribunals are going to favor you and I, or are they going to favor these mega corporate interests? So let's, this is
multinational corporations.
This is a merger involving Bayer, Monsanto, of course, Dow and DuPont, Syngenta and ChemChina. It's insane. Like, we have huge mergers of corporations that are now going to be in control.
Global takeover.
Ashley Beckworth, thank you so much for joining me. Everybody, you've got to make sure that we push back against the passage of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is going to have major ramifications for the entire world.
Call your legislators.
For the coming future.